So, welcome to another video. First thing I want to do is get the gearbox off this engine, the engine off the subframe. I want to bolt the subframe back into the chassis, mainly because obviously we know this subframe came out, but I'm not sure if the chassis legs have twisted a little bit more once the tension from the subframe has gone. So as soon as I unbolted it and dropped it a little bit, the chassis legs could have done a little bit more of a tweak over, just because the subframe was holding it straight. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping it'll bolt up fine and no issues, and then we know from the front of the subframe forward is pretty much fine. And then that's all I need to sort out. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I've got a front end that I might be picking up in the next couple of days. So hopefully that'll secure most of my nightmares. But yeah, right, let's crack on.
So it was as simple as undoing the engine mounts, taking the power steering pump and reservoir off, and then lifting the engine. But what I failed to realise is there's actually two engine dampers that I just didn't take off, and that's what I was playing about with here. Once I pinged them off, I lifted the engine up, and yeah, job's good.
There we go. Engine is off. So now I'm going to lower this down and take the gearbox off the engine.
Hopefully it goes without saying there is more than just one bolt in the gearbox, but I just thought I didn't get a good camera angle of getting the rest of the bolts out, so didn't show it, just showed the last one.
Gosh. God, that's a light gearbox. Right. Gearbox evacuated. Turns out it's loads easier when you take all the bolts out. So, engine and box out and in place. Yeah, not that exciting, I know. Bit of organisation. But next, steering rack's coming off, I think, of the subframe. I'll move the subframe more over there. I need to have a bit of a clean up as well, it's a bit dirty. So I'll come back to you then. Right, so I've had a bit of a tidy up, only a little one, but I've had a bit of a tidy up. Next job I want to crack on with is getting this front subframe stripped and like steering rack off it and stuff. I'm also going to take the old engine mounts off, which they're pretty perished now anyway. The dampers, things that they had, the engine dampers, but I'm probably going to leave the dampers on, which is part of the hubs, anti-roll bars, and that sort of stuff, but the actual steering rack and any other bits like that are coming off, because I'm going to fit a purple tag steering rack anyway, so I think they mount up a little bit different, so even for mock-up purposes I can't even be bothered with that rack. So yeah, let's crack on.
So I'll start by taking the outer track rod off from the hub. I do this on both sides. It was actually surprisingly easy to do. I was expecting it to fight me a lot with it being an old car, but these have been off before. But yeah, still, you work on a modern car and it's only been on for a year and it's seized on. This thing, everything comes off nice and lovely. It's 30 years old. Can't beat the old stuff. I say nice and lovely. I must have forgotten that this one gave me a little bit of grief. I think that was my fault rather than anything else. Mushroomed over the end of the thread, I think, if I remember rightly. But I get it off without too many dramas. And then it's just a case of undoing the 2 bolts that hold the rack on, which are just whizzed off. They're just 17s, I think, or 15s, can't quite remember. Most stuff's either a 10, 14 or 17 on this thing, so I would say it's probably a 17. And again, everything came off really nice and easy, which is a bit of a testament to how these old cars were built, really. Dampers that I actually forgot to move when I was trying to take the engine off the subframe. Whip them off, they won't be used again, and they'll be placed in the bin. If you are enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and yeah, see where we go in the future.
Right. That is everything I wanted to strip off of the subframe. So, what I am going to do is just drop the bolts in for the rack and stuff. I don't think they're OEM bolts, to be honest, but I know they're the right length, so at least they're there, ready for when I get the new rack. Right then. Front subframe's ready to go back in. Everything's stripped off that I wanted to strip off. Let's get her in. For the probably going to be a million times that we're going to go for it.
Yeah, so we're just using the little trolley jack to get us up there. Annoyingly, it was actually a little bit too short on full extension, as you can see, because that's at full extension and it's not actually touching the bottom of the bottom of the car yet. But yeah, it was close enough to be able to get the bolts threaded in. And now, as you can see, I'm just getting the top mounts in. Hoping you're liking my slightly better camera work than I've been doing before. And yeah, they're just a 12mm socket. Tightened all and down, and did the same on the other side.
Right, so subframe's in, bolted the top mounts in. I'm just going to bolt in the lollipop bushes. Just for now, just keep the arms somewhere in the right place. And then yeah, the more I look at the front end of this car, the more it starts to look sadder and sadder, unfortunately. I've seen a few more kinks in a few more places, which probably needs cut a little bit more out than I was hoping. But it's not looked too down in the dumps just yet. It's fixable. Does make me sad though. So that's everything I wanted to get sorted, done today anyway. Get the front subframe in, get the steering rack off it, an engine off it, and all tidied up. Like I said earlier, the damage that I thought we had was bad, and then I keep seeing little bits that make it a little bit worse and worse, which is even sadder, obviously. The front subframe did bolt up nicely, so to me that would suggest that it's only twisted and stuff from the subframe forward. So that's a positive, I suppose, but I'll show you what I mean. There's creases right in front of where the subframe hits. Don't know how well the camera's picking up, but there's a crease down here. And obviously the subframe bolts in around here. So it's got a really big crease here. And we've obviously got all the creases in here, which I already knew about. It's bent all here, twisted here. Yeah, twisted up here. So like I say, it's not looking good, but I'm hoping, like I say, tomorrow I'm picking up pretty much a whole front end. So from bulkhead forward. Right, so back, the second part of this video, shall we say, is two things. I've got one very big part and then a couple of little parts that I want to try out. So the big part is down here, which is I managed to source a whole I've managed to actually source a whole front end basically from the back of the strut towers forward. But there are a few issues with it. I got it cheap, but there are a few issues. We have quite a lot of rust spots, which I'll show you. When I say rust spots, they're rust holes. But for the most part, like it's in good shape. Bit of surface rust, which is what I'm going to be basically doing today, tidying up all the surface rust, putting a bit of rust neutralizer on it and priming it up. I won't be welding it on today and getting it on the car. That's not my aim for today. My aim is to get this cleaned up in a state where I can bolt, when I do weld it to the car, I don't have to do too much rust repair on it. So I'm going to clean up all the surface rust, neutralise it, and just get it ready and get my head around how I'm going to get this front end on there. And as you may or may not notice, it's come with quite a lot of the bits that I needed. It's come with a crash bar, which admittedly isn't in the best condition, but it's in a much better condition than the one I had on my car. It also comes with the front valance. So it's actually come with quite a few more parts than I was expecting when I bought it, to be honest. And I got this for £200. Admittedly, like I say, it does need some work, but I was struggling to find another one, basically. This front part, you can't actually see it. I'll throw some B-roll in. But the actual front radiator support is probably the worst part of this whole front end. So I would actually like to make it so this front rad support drops in, and removable, sorry. I would like to make it so it's removable. So I'm actually not too bothered because this piece will end up being a sacrificial piece. This is very unlikely to get used. But I want to keep it attached because this is keeping the whole front end aligned of this piece, of this front end. So the other thing I want to do today is I just want to test fit these engine mounts. These are hydraulic. They're basically fluid filled engine mounts from I can't remember if it's a 540i or a M5, but basically it's a V8 BMW engine mount. But what I want to do is just see, because it's, if you look on here, it does have a little locating pin. And when I was removing the engine mounts from the original engine, it also had a little locating pin. So I was kind of hoping that, I don't know, I could make these work. And they're back to normal rubber mount. Shouldn't shake the car to pieces too much when I put the V8 in it. But I just want to test fit, see if they fit. If they fit, I'm sort of at the point where once I've got the front end on, I just need to make the engine mounts, in theory. But yeah, that's sort of the plan for today and the video for today. So yeah, without further ado, let's go. So, like I say, first job I want to check is if these 540i or M5, I'll put the part number on so you can have a look. Or I might even just put up what it's for. But these are cheap. I got the cheapest ones that they do for that engine car combination, only because I'm probably going to be welding near them, probably going to pop them at some point, but I just want to verify that they work, make my engine mounts, then I'll get some nice quality ones made up, bought from. So engine mounts just get bolted in here. Like I say, it has a little locating pin nodule thing. Now, unfortunately, that nodule is just in the wrong place. Yeah, so unfortunately, if you can see that nodule is just in the wrong spot. I think it is the right diameter, and it's actually quite close up to the chassis leg. I don't know if you can see that. So what I'm probably going to do is either scallop this hole out, so the engine mount sits a bit further this way, or find a different mount, I'm not sure yet. But I'm not ruling this one out immediately, because I think it would only need to go scallop that hole to about there. But yeah, I think it could work with a little modification. Bit of scalloping, which isn't the end of the world. Just need to make sure I can still get a nut on the bottom side when I scallop this out this way, if that makes sense. So we'll have a little look-see, but maybe I'll see if there's some other mounts. I would like to use these because they are, like I say, designed for a V8. They are hydraulic fluid filled, but we'll see. Well, that's job one completed. So next job, getting straight on with this front bumper. I want to try and get this cleaned up and as much as I can today. So first thing I want to do is strip this front crash bar and the valance off it. So they are, for the crash bar, whatever this is, I feel like it's T45 or T50 or T55. But anyway, T55, and hopefully these will crack off. Like I say, they weren't even tight. Like I said, I don't really know the history of this front end at all. I just found it locally on Facebook Marketplace, and I think it had been up for a while because I just didn't offer him a lot of money and he took it. That's second bolt out. Bit rusty, but they'll probably clean up and go again. And then in theory, this front crash bar should pull off. And it's in okay nick. It's not amazing, but that'll clean up and should at least do to start with. Unless I find something else better. Like you can probably see someone's had an attempt at drilling them out. Not entirely sure what for. Because you can get to the nuts from the back, so yeah, doesn't matter. We've got a crash bar. Right, so now I want to get this valance off, and I've got a little sneaky feeling that actually all the bolts are already out. The previous owner just couldn't get the crash bar off, or I don't know, somehow, I don't know. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that there's maybe only a couple of bolts at the bottom holding this on. So you can probably see even better actually here, all the rust that's on this bottom rad support. Like I say, I'm not too worried about this. This is just going to be sort of in there to make sure it's straight basically as it's going in. But there's two bolts at the bottom here to get this valance off that look very rusty and don't look like they're going to come off very easy. But if I pop these brake ducts off without breaking them, hopefully, I should be able to get good access, and it's just a 8mm bolt. God, these are on here a bit tight. Stay. So I've just got a little plastic lever bar thing, hoping that if I can get that under, I should be able to pop these out. Hopefully without breaking them. But it is 30-year-old plastic. Great success.
Great success.
So now that should give me great access to these bolts. As you can see right here, a little bit rusty, not too bad. I think I should be able to get that off all right. And then this one in here. So I should be able to take those two bolts off, pull the front valance off. And then, with any luck, dash. It's maybe a little bit worse than I thought it was, this front valance, because this side's really rusty. But that side's okay, probably savable-ish. I was kind of hoping, like I said earlier, that I'd be able to make 3 bad ones into 1 good one. It might still be possible, but we'll get to that bit sometime in the future, I suppose. So it's one of them things where I'm looking at it just trying to decide where to start. And I think I'm going to start at the worst bit, which is on this bottom side. So what I've got to attack this, what I've decided to buy, is a few variations of different wire wheels that go on the end of a rotary tool or a drill. I've gone for the twisted knot one, which is more aggressive, so it will pull more material off. And then I've gone for one that's not a twisted one, twisted wire one, which is slightly less aggressive and but still does the same job really, just less aggressive. It just saves taking too much material off. So I've just spun this up quickly, and as you can see, all the knotted bits are basically falling out, which is less than ideal. I'm going to give it a little go, but Just be careful. Yeah, I think this is going to break almost instantly, but let's see. Well, that's crap. So I tried this twisted knot tool out on a 90-degree die grinder. 90-degree die grinder's fine, but this is an Amazon special for the wire wheel thing, and it's just separated and not gone very well. So I've gone back to old trusty grinder with same sort of thing on, twisted knot, but on a grinder. The reason why I wasn't going to use a grinder to begin with was it's a little bit aggressive and it can be quite hard to control sometimes, and I don't want to take my fingers off. So I thought I'd try one on a die grinder, but I should have got some better quality bits, to be fair. So let's give this a go, and we'll do basically the same as what I was going to do, clean it all up and go from there. It's maybe looking like this is a little bit worse than I was expecting. I've actually got a few little holes in the chassis rail which I wasn't accounting for, to be honest. They are repairable, but it's I got this one thinking that the chassis rails were mint, but the other bits were rusty. So that's one chassis leg sort of cleaned up. I'm going to do the other side to the same sort of extent, and then I'm going to go around with it with some like cure rust, like some rust neutralizer, and then I'm going to give it a coating of some red oxide paint, just to stop it rusting any further. So join me when I've cleaned up the other side of the bottom to the same extent. So, what feels like it's taken me an absolute age and got my ears ringing like a good one. I've done a lot of grinding or wire wheeling or whatever you want to call it on these chassis legs, and they're not actually in as good as condition as I thought and hoped. The left hand one, which is actually on my right hand side at the minute, is actually pretty good. But this one, it has quite a few rust holes actually in the chassis leg, which I didn't show the faces until I got the grinder with the wire wheel on it and started ripping through. And the great thing about the wire wheel is it'll rip through the rust and stuff like that, but it won't take any actual metal off, which is why I like to use a wire wheel. If there's some loose bits of metal, then it will fire it off, but for just rust removal, it's one of the best tools, I think, without going down some sort of acid bath or blasting. So what I've done both chassis rails. I've also done sort of the tops of the wings, like these bits up here. I've also done these side faces. I haven't, as you can see, done anything with this centre rad support. I did actually run it over it very quickly, but I didn't go mad, just to get some loose stuff off. So what you can see is some real excessive rust, which is a very common spot on these cars, down just above the wheel well, just in front of the wheel well, sorry, on the front. But it's a lot worse than I thought it was. I knew there was a bit there, but it's quite a bit more than I was initially expecting. So I've got a nice fresh brush. As you can see, I've just put it in a cap. It's a paint cap or something like that, out of like a brake cleaner bottle or something. Just poured what I want into there. Probably put a bit much, but I'm going to go a bit mad. And what you'll see is it's quite a milky thing. Now I paint it on, like very milky substance. I don't know what's going on with my GoPro at the minute. As you paint it on, it should turn purple. I'm probably putting it on a bit thick here, but it'll spread nice. And I'm just going to try and coat everything. And that should hopefully neutralise any rust that maybe I haven't got with the wire wheel. And one of the reasons I'm laying it in thick is that I'm hoping it'll just fall in some of these holes and sort of do the surrounding areas as well. So I'm going to apologise now. My GoPro seems to be having a meltdown. It seems to have I don't know if it's corrupted this card again. It's already tried doing it once. So I was trying to get a load of nice GoPro close-ups, but it doesn't seem to be wanting to do it. I don't know if it's my GoPro that's doing it or the actual SD card's on its way out, but it formatted it last time to fix it, and I don't want it to format it because I've got some good footage that I'm hoping you'll see. But if you don't see it, you can blame this fucking GoPro. So what I'm going to do instead is just bring my main camera over. So after that small interlude, because my GoPro seems to be playing funny buggers, I'll do the other side on the main camera, because I know that isn't going to shit its pants. But all I'm doing, just brushing it on. Doesn't have to be neat. It's super thin sort of stuff, very watery. Oh shit. But I'm just wanting to cover mainly all the areas. One that I'm going to paint with this red oxide, but also the bits that are definitely staying, which hopefully is all the bits that I'm going to be covering with the red oxide paint. I don't know if it's showing on camera very well, but that should have. It started to go a dark purple, which kind of means it's doing its job. I am kind of wondering now I'm doing this whether it would have been better me just sending it away to get blasted, sandblasted, and then getting it put in primer and then going and doing all this stuff. But I'm here now, doing it this way.
So if you are enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And yeah, we'll see where we go with it in the future.
That's probably about as far as I'm going with the cure rust. I'll maybe do the other sides, but maybe another day. As you can see, it does go a purple colour, and the points where it's actually on the rust actually goes black, which sort of shows it's working really. What I'm going to do, you may or may not be able to see, I've just put a little heat lamp there. I'm going to get something else on this side, and give it a bit of time to cure off, and then we'll start hitting it with a bit of red oxide paint. while I wait for the rust neutraliser to finish and dry, I thought I'd explain to you how I am planning to try and jig this up so I can get this true on there. So this comes with 3 out of the 4 mounting points for the front subframe. So my idea is I get some angle steel, mild steel, maybe, I don't know, 2 inch by 2 inch or 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch angle. And what I'll do, and the reason I want a decent size on it is to reduce any flex that it might have once there's some weight on it. So what I'm planning on doing is bolting the angle to the mounting points on here forward, and then my plan would be to pick up, there's a lot of holes on the front of here and 1 or 2 bolting points. So what I'd like to do is get some rods that I can weld to the angle iron that will locate through some of these holes, and then maybe pick up one of the bolt holes as well, ideally, or even there's some studs here which are actually earths, but maybe I'll pick them up as well. But to make sure I've got the spacing right, because obviously this can move in and out a bit, as you can see. What I'm probably going to do is take the subframe back off, because as you saw in previous footage, I did put the subframe back on, because I'm confident that this subframe, hasn't deformed, or relatively confident. So what I'm going to do is put the angle actually on the car first, and then weld some rods from one side to the other on the car, so that gets my spacing for this point. And then once I've welded that on, I'll take it off of the car, place it on here, bolt it down, and then I'll work on making my jig. So like I say, I'll pick up 2 or 3 of the holes at mounting points, like the bolt holes, and make it so it's jigged off of the front subframe holes basically, because I will eventually, if I use this piece, cut from just in front of the subframe off, or the subframe, just in front of the subframe mountings off, and I will use the subframe mountings that are still on the car, which will mean that I can bolt my jig onto the car, chop off the front of the car that I don't need, chop off any bits I don't need off of this, and then basically, hopefully I should be able to place this front end on my jig. Whether it'll work, I'm not sure. I hope what I've explained kind of makes sense and on how I want to do it. Like I say, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to end up using these bits. It's a little bit more rusty than I thought, especially this side. This side's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, especially now I've gone round and whizzed all the rust and neutralised all the rust. I'm relatively happy with this side, not as much this side. But this is a battle you have when you're dealing with 30-year-old cars, if not more, if not older. So, been letting this cure off for what feels like an absolute age, but I don't want to leave today without priming it up and just getting a bit of paint on the bits that I think are most important. What I'm using is just some red oxide paint, or primer, sorry, red oxide primer. It's good for rust prevention in the future. You'll find a lot of body shops tend to use red oxide or epoxy primer, which if I could have got a hold of epoxy primer, I would have probably got epoxy. But I was very last minute and tried getting it today, and I couldn't find any. So red oxide will be fine. Like I say, it's just the first base coat. I'm sure it'll be the first of many coats of primer, paint and what have you that ends up going on these chassis legs. So I have had these in front of the heater because at the minute it is 7 degrees Celsius in here, which is pretty chilly. So whilst the heaters have been on helping dry the rust neutraliser, I've also had the cans just in front of them just to keep them warm, because it'll spray better when it's a bit warmer. And I try to just keep mixing them up every now and again, making sure they're not getting too hot either. But yeah, in 2 minutes we'll probably be painting. Like I say, I'm not looking for an A-star job. This is just get a lick of paint on. What I quite like about the red oxide primer is actually I find it helps show any other defects that we might have, because it gives everything a same matte finish. So I'm going to call that a day. I have put it all in primer now, for the most part. Obviously I'm not going to flip it upside down, or should I flip it upside down? Or right way up. I'll do that another day. But yeah, put it on primer. Looks just as ropey, to be fair. But yeah, that's just going to protect it while I do all my other jobs. Obviously, wherever I'm going to be welding, I'm probably going to have to grind it off a little bit, but I'd rather it be protected now and just have to peel it off when I need. Or not peel it off, but sand it off when I need. If you are enjoying the build and you want to see where we go, how we get on, please consider liking and subscribing. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next one.